Good afternoon and welcome to another Quick Bite session. Today, Crispin's going to be showing you how we use our Claude at the Coders Guild as our go-to AI hub. We'll leave a little bit of time for a Q&A at the end, so please get your questions in via the LinkedIn comment section this week. But I'll hand over to Crispin now to give you a run through our Claude setup.
Thanks, Rob. So today I'm going to show you how we turned Claude into a proper team hub. So not just a chatbot that people are dipping in and out of, but something that actually knows how our business works and how our team works, including specifically the bit that most people skip that makes everything else fall into place. So demo should be about 20 minutes. As Rob said, please drop questions into the comments as we go. Francesca and Alex from our team are also in the comments. So if there's stuff that they can answer directly, they will. I'm not going to monitor the comments because I've got too many moving parts already. Yeah, Rob will try and get some comments together for a Q&A at the end. So where to start? This is actually kind of the thing that we would have been dreaming about and trying lots of different ways of developing for a couple of years. There wasn't in Claude specifically, but like the idea behind it of like this central place where the AI can, where AI helps us do our work, doesn't replace people, but helps us all work more efficiently together. A place that knows our business, knows our voice, our processes. So we're not explaining everything or re-explaining stuff to each other every single time. We tried a few things before. We were doing a thing. We had a thing running in Guru for a time. We did some stuff with ChatGPT. We started creating our own we had a thing going in Notion as well, and we were having like RAG retrieval, which is like kind of like a search, but we were going and grabbing the specific bits of documents that are relevant. So we kind of, we're always kind of like moving around trying to get something useful together, and we kind of knew what we wanted. We just couldn't make it stick. Then earlier this year, a few things started happening. I'd already moved onto Claude at the end of, or like midway through last year, kind of as my dominant LLM of choice, and I think like as the system behind how Claude works for people and for teams as an application, as that started developing more like towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year with skills in particular, that kind of became really, really appealing to the sorts of things that we were trying to do. So then we moved over to making that project kind of work, that team project work with Claude rather than the other things that we had trialed. So what I'm going to show you today is what we built that works for us. But really, in more general terms, what I'm talking about is the principles behind what we did as a team to make that effective. And this, I think that's really important, because like if you want AI to work consistently across the team, not just for individual silo people who are doing really well at something, if you want to, you want to get the team benefits out of it, you kind of need to stop treating it like a tool and start treating it more like a team member who needs proper induction and needs onboarding. And I guess that's where we're at. So we've got the Claude interface here. Let me just check that I've got I've got the right one. So I've got the desktop version here, which is attached to co-work, it's attached to Claude Code as well. It's a very similar interface to the web one. If you're more used to the web version, it's always the same. You have our recents and stuff down here. We have our main interface here. the things that are kind of different from ChatGPT, I guess, we've got these like connectors here that will give us some prompts about, oh, how can we start working with Google Drive that I've connected, or from the calendar, or from Gmail. I'm not going to go into those. I think that Claude will take you through that when you if you want to ask it, because I'm trying to stay focused on the team aspect today of what we do. We've got some other webinars coming up around getting started with co-work, and also getting started with Claude Code. And as I was saying in one of my chat groups recently, like when you get Claude Code up and running, and you start to move into the command line interface, it's really empowering. You feel really clever. You feel really bleeding edge. So more webinars about that. If you want to be notified of them, let us know in the comments. We'll be able to ping you the links, or like, follow, subscribe, as the motto goes. So let me just find my notes. Too many windows open. Right. So here's our out of the box thing. This ask your org. I must be in the wrong. Oh, here we go. They've just changed it. The update came through, and that threw me, because that used to say Ask the Coders Guild. But here's kind of where I want to start the story. So this is the thing that we've been trying to create for ages, and that when we got Claude for the team, it just came out the box. So this is like a chat-based interface for our intranet. And so here you can see like loads of files. What we've got in this, we've got the custom instructions, similar to ChatGPT, or similar to like a personal instance of Claude. You're giving your custom instructions that are going to tell Claude, give Claude context about how you want it to respond, the sorts of things you do, and all the things that I show you today around the files in the knowledge base, the custom instructions, the memory, and skills. What they do is build context around what you're asking for. And then what that is doing is basically refining what sort of response you're going to get. So you're putting all of these things into every prompt that you're putting into the chat. Do you see what I mean? And so the Ask the Coders Guild intranet bot, as it is. So we've put into these files, into the you can just add files in here. It's very easy. Upload from your device, or you can just do you can paste in stuff, you can add stuff from Drive. And what we've added in here is all the policy documents that we have, internal and external, all of the reference documents that we've been creating, all of the process documents that we've been creating over the past couple of years. And because we were always trying to do this thing, we came into this marching, running really, really fast, because we already had these documents. Now what this means is that anyone can come and ask a question of this particular chatbot, and it knows our policies, it knows our expense policies, it knows our sickness policy, or the options for pensions, and all of these things are now contained in this one place. So we're not giving generic advice to people, and we're not telling people to go and look inside certain documents. They can query these documents, and that's what the custom instructions do, is put these documents down as the gospel, and reduce hallucinations, and reduce opportunities for error. So this is the thing that was our real starting point of oh great, now we've got this. And the team part of it, so there's an amazing advantage right there. So and one thing I should say is don't feel like you're 2 years behind, because we just spent 2 years building up this library of process and reference documents. You can start to go in and build this and walk through what's needed, and enter into this sort of question and answer, this conversational relationship, where you're asking, what else could we put in here? What's the sort of What's missing from your knowledge base? Oh, I could do with an understanding about this. Let's create that document together. Ask me some questions. You get that document created, and then it can go into the knowledge base. So similar when we're looking at projects. So projects are then more specific. So we've got a bunch of projects here. So we organize ourselves at the Coders Guild. We're organizing ourselves basically in 3 departments. So we have operations, so like our operational activity. Then we have delivery, which is delivery of training and services and that sort of stuff. And then we have comms, BizDev, sales as a third. So we have more than 3 projects. So they're kind of departmental in like operations and systems is our ops one. Delivery and learning is the delivery one. And then we've got, for example, content and campaigns and business development. They're separate because they have different things in the knowledge base. So if I pull up if I have a quick example of our content and campaigns, so the knowledge that I added to that particular project was about our value proposition, customer personas, value mapping, segmentation. We've got stuff about our tone of voice. Thing we were working there about optimizing our LinkedIn profiles, the LinkedIn growth playbook that we're operating on. So that gives the context for this project immediately about the Coders Guild, what we're trying to do as a business, what we're trying to do in terms of the content that we create, and how that's all related into other things. So all of us are now referring to the same documentation. So when we are looking for help writing emails, or for this one, there's more like creating content on LinkedIn, or preparing for this webinar, for example, immediately the responses that we're getting out of this project are aligned to our business objectives and the way that the Coders Guild works. The memory part up here is good as well. So once we start working with this, the memory starts off as blank when you start a project, but then it's filling stuff in as you are giving more and more context. It's picking up on the repeated things, and then that memory gets updated as you go. The knowledge base here as well, that's live. So if you want to delete something or change something, you just delete it, change it, and then the next chat goes from that new knowledge base straight away. It's not bringing in the legacy stuff. So you can see now with the projects, we've got our departmental stuff. I've got some personal stuff in there as well. So there's the stuff I'm writing some books at the moment. So there's some stuff helping me write and edit and prepare stuff I'm doing with the books. There's like a little baking project there. That would be a cool webinar as well. So I've got in the baking project to have a thing that's going Claude to Notion direct with loads of different ratios and updates on recipes and stuff, which is really good. That I can just have like a pal as I'm baking, and I can just do a voice note and it's updating recipes and ratios and stuff in the background. But that's not what this one is about. This is about the team stuff. I've got a demo. I've got 2. I'll just delete that one. I've got a demo project here, because I would say that whilst I said the BizDev project and the content project are different, they've got different knowledge in there, they've got different parameters. You could create a project for a particular customer. You could create a project for a particular project that you were doing. You group them how it's useful for your company, for your team, for your business. So in the getting started with the project, I think your best place to start is to have a meeting with people. What we did, we started like a pilot group of Francesca and me and Rob. And we had a meeting about, how would we do this setup? What do we think would be useful? We took the transcript of that meeting and we put that into Claude and said, this is what we're thinking of doing. Ask me some questions about how to refine this. And we entered into like a one-to-one, as in like a back and forth with Claude to help us refine how those projects look. So you could do that, follow that same process, and you would get different projects with different titles and different knowledge modules, different knowledge bases, and so on for the that match your business. Now, the other thing that I would like to talk about now is our skills. So if I come to customize here, where the skills live, just close up so we've got personal skills and we've got organizational skills. So we've been building these out and refining them over time. And the skills part of Claude, I think, is what makes it super, super useful. So if you think like a project is your collection of how you are collectively sharing information and data and chats about a particular thing, an area, then the skills is how you do tasks associated with that. So if you think about it like you've got your projects and your skills, you can call skills into any project. So if I talk about some of the skills that we've put out here, so presentation builder. So this is a very apt one. This is one that I've been working on quite recently, and and this is one that's personal to me because it is how I build and deliver presentations. So to get a back and forth, I ask myself, like, who are these questions? The questions about who the audience is. What do I want them to get out of it? What's the action they could do right now? Do you know? So this is how I try to think about how I'm doing presentations. So I get, by pulling in that presentation skill into the content project, I can then have a 1-2 with Claude that is around these parameters that help me build a presentation that is accurate to my voice and the business objectives of the Coders Guild. We've got other ones here about, like, with things about our SEO and AEO writing. An interesting one here for a scheme of work. We have a very specific way that we like to build our schemes of work for courses. This is a completely internal thing, but this is something that we worked on and refined over time. But now Claude knows this. So for Claude to draft up schemes of work that match the Coders Guild's way of creating these documents that work for everyone and everyone always understands it, that's a sped up process now. We have stuff in here about the compliance frameworks that we operate in. We've got like an operations reference. We've got our brand messaging. Got a little commercial legal helper here for if we need to engage in a legal way with people. It gives us advice, not proper legal advice, I would say, but it helps frame our arguments coherently with those sorts of things. So this is by no means like an exhaustive list. This is as far as we've got so far with skills. They can also describe like how to create documents and things like that. And what I'd like to do now, if I go back to the back to the project area where I've got this demo, what I'd like to quickly run through is this example here. So I set up this demo project that is for a fictitious consulting firm. And then I went through this chat to show you how I would build out a skill. So imagining that I'm having a conversation in the operations department of or the operations project, and I think, oh, this is something that could be repeated, like onboarding, or this one is like a proposal creator. So, how do we write proposals? Ask me some questions. And then so I got some questions in here, and then I answered those questions. I had some more questions, and I answered some more questions. And then you can see up here we have invoked the skill creator guide, which is kind of new from Claude. So that understands how to create skills, and then it's given me this markdown file. Now, so based on just those two conversations that we have had, I've built out this skill now. So then what I would be doing is I'd be reading this and thinking, oh no, actually that's wrong. Oh, we don't want to do that. Oh, it would be better if this. So then I would engage in dialogue now back with this chat, and then read and then get that skill up to the standard that I want it. Then we've got the save skill here, which is save it to my personal skills if it was a personal one. If I wanted to add it to the organization as a skill, I would download it, or you can add it to project. You can download it, and then what I have been doing, this might not be the right way to do it, because seeing as I just updated Claude stillily 5 minutes before the webinar started, but what I have been doing is downloading that skill file, which Claude has its own like .skill file, and then uploading that as a shared resource into the shared domain. What am I at? 22 minutes in. Okay. So I think that basically, I think that's all the things I really wanted to cover in this session. Like I said, I'm happy to go more into skill building, which I've got a short piece of content to talk more about that later on. But the co-work aspects of Claude we're finding really powerful, and indeed the Claude code stuff, like we're not using Claude Code so much to write code, but in order to have more structure, more control, more granularity around the skills and projects. We've got some stuff running in code, and I'll be sharing those in future webinars. I guess closing notes is I think like everything that I've just showed you comes back to the same thing. Claude is only really, or any tool like this, is only as useful as the context that you are giving it. The setup is the work. But then once you've done the first bit, then you're into refine mode, and your gains are compounding. So if I want something to come out of you watching this webinar today, open Claude, create a project, and get stuck into a dialogue with Claude about what you should do next, and be clear about involving the other people in your team. And then Claude will help you build out that project to be something super useful, and we'll always be thinking, where is this a skill? Is this a new project? And ask for that help. Yeah, that brings us around to kind of to the end. So hopefully there's some questions for me to answer in the comments. Anything else to say? I can't remember. Rob, give me a question to answer instead.
I'll chuck some questions at you. We've got quite a few, but you may have kind of been handling them on the fly. First of all, what's the difference between co-work Claude and Claude Code? Just for those that aren't monitoring the chat, because Francesca did reply to this in the chat.
Okay, so basically what I showed you there is Claude, the Claude AI, the interface to talk to the large language model. So that's where you've got projects and you've got skills and those stuff. So co-work is something that you need to use on a desktop computer. So it's not in the browser, on a desktop computer. Then you are giving Claude co-work access to your emails, your folder structure. You can get it to do stuff in on your computer. So that's where you start to get more like agentic flows going with things that can be repeated. Then code, the Claude Code, that is another webinar. That's not something I can answer, but in general, Claude Code is about writing code. But what started happening at end of last year is people working with Claude Code to do non-code stuff, and then basically that's what developed into Claude Co-work, was the things people were doing with code, to write little bits of code that do little agentic things. And now Co-work is essentially a user interface on top of that, so all of the code stuff is hidden. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. How do we handle versioning of skills? I guess that's
Another one. Well, so here's where we are going into, as I mentioned, like the stuff that we're venturing into with co-work and code. So version control of the skill files in GitHub. So then holding all of those things. So that is a Claude code version of the things that I just showed you there. So you would have a repo that had all of those skills and access to the different bits of knowledge, and there's your version control.
am I right in thinking you can ask Claude to help you create the skills? Yes, you covered that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that is and that's quite recent. It's only a number of weeks ago that they released that skill creator skill, and that was a massive jump forward in how easy it is to create skills. And I think just a really good example of like how this stuff is evolving. The things that held us back before were the effort in time and the expense in time and money to learn a new platform or a new piece of software or a new language. And now that's the easy bit. This is, it's maybe a little bit more difficult than Instagram, but you still got to understand, you've got to do the work as well. You've got to understand you've got to give it a good context. If you give it a half-assed context, you're not going to get great results. And it's about putting that work together.
And I think one thing I'd like to add is that because of the way we have a history in the business of owning process documents and policies, and with skills, those are going to be updated by the admins, and also it's an iterative approach. So you can ask at the end of a chat, what elements of this can be used to improve the skill, what can be used to improve the project. So that would be owners of the skills and the documents, and updating as you go to make the best use of it. Right, sorry, I've lost track of the questions. Does everyone in the team have access to the same Claude account, or does everyone have separate accounts?
So, well, at the moment, as this transition, I've got some chats in my old personal pro account that are still needed. So I have two. However, so we have a team license, and then everyone has access to that. So they have access to different things. So only I can see my personal projects, like the book one and the baking one are just mine. And then all of those projects are then you're giving access to them of people who can use them, people who can edit them, and it's very, very simple. That's the levels. It isn't layers and layers of admin and privileges.
We've got how do you edit the .md file? You get Claude to do that, as far as I'm aware.
Generally it's a voice note for me of like when I say, can you update this skill file? What I want you to do is this. We should be doing more like this. Show me the result, and then I'll give feedback to that. But you can just edit it in place if you want to.
For those in team businesses, does anyone have any recommendations? I think this is probably for the wider chat, but have we got any recommendations for useful skills, either that we've built or that we've brought in?
I think if you go and look at Anthropic's GitHub, they have a bunch of skills that are there that you can look at. But Claude, even the web interface, has access to those skills, so you can just say, "Are there any skills for this sort of thing?" And the more value I think it comes in when you give it your proper context. So you can start from the generic Anthropic SEO skill, but then you want to add to that with your specific take on it.
Okay, we're a little bit over, but does Claude automatically reference skills and the files you've uploaded to the project, or do you need to prompt every time?
It depends. It's pretty good at when you ask it something. So if I'm saying, oh, I'm going to do this, it's going, oh, I'm just going to read the Crispin's voice skill. So it's pretty good at that. But then if you get a funny result, then, and often I will be going to say, do you need to look at that skill? Oh, yes, of course. I'll go and pull that skill in. So it's kind of a bit of both.
I think the longer the chat goes on as well, the longer the context window you might need to refresh. I think we'll have to call it time there. The only other thing we've got is the upcoming webinars. I know Francesca has been adding you to the commenters to the list of invites for the upcoming webinars, and we'll do a deep dive into co-work this time next month. So make sure you sign up. This is our Linktree link, which will give you the links to all of the events coming up. And if you can sign up via LinkedIn or Eventbrite, then we can make sure that we're reaching out to you directly to give you any additional information that you might need. And a little bit overdue, but thanks very much, Crispin. That was really good. And if you have any questions, please keep them coming into the LinkedIn. If you're rewatching at a later date, and please get in touch with the team. Francesca and Alex are available anytime you need them.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.